Imagine getting folded at a barbecue in front of hot dogs and God.
You got knocked the f*** out!
Hello friends, welcome back to ReddX, Trace Amounts of Science. Today we're getting into some r/NeckbeardStories. It's really the origin myth of a neckbeard, and we get to watch the entitlement germinate. It seems like it's going to be a really long one, and I sort of want to let the Gubbinses take the lead, you know? I'll do the reading, but they can do the commentary, and that might be a fun division, something a little different. So go ahead, boys, kick us off. What are we looking at today?
In the beginning, there was Mountain Dew, Minecraft, and misplaced confidence. Gubbins.
4 neckbeards foretold, 4 horsemen of cringe. They do not ride, they lurk. Dark Gubbins.
This is their genesis, the birth of the beards. Gubbins.
Well, 4 neckbeards, we're getting a whole variety pack today, so let's go ahead, get on into it and see how it goes. The 4 nice guys / neckbeards of the apocalypse. Part 1 through 3, Before Time Began, Barbecue Brawl, and Dancing in the Rain. Yeah, look at that triple threat. Hola! I've had a realization recently. I don't just have one nice guy or neckbeard story. I don't even have 2. I got like a minimum of 4. Minimum because some come after, but they come into my life a while after the saga, so I'm just gonna make them their own thing. To preface, I've written parts 1 through 3 of this story on a separate subreddit, but someone suggested I put it here instead because it's more suited to this subreddit. As such, I've compiled all those parts under this one post, so forget any snack, grab a meal, because you're gonna need it for this hefty read. After this, I'll continue as normal, 1 part at a time, so I don't overwhelm you. Back to the cringe lords we'll be exploring. At the time, I just thought that the guys in question were just as cringy as I was, since we were all so young at that point. But now, I see them for what they were, nice guys and neckbeards in training, and they only got worse as the years went on. I'm giving you neckbeard origin stories, filled with drama, battle, triumph, defeat, romance, heartbreak, and more quote-unquote chivalry and creepiness than you can shake a stick at. So buckle up, hold on to your Doritos and Mountain Dew bottles, because we got some top-tier, 99% purity cringe here for you today, and if you enjoy it, well, I'll write some more. Now for the cast. OP! Yeah, this OP. Your tour guide through the cesspool that is my life. At the time of this story, though, I was just an 11-year-old black kid trying to understand Pokemon and the constant changes that were happening around me. Not afraid to fight and tended to misbehave. Mama, if by some grace of God you're reading this, I'm sorry for being such a brat. There was also Rain, one of our first nice guys, a lanky, pale stick of a kid who, even at a young age, had a habit of manipulating and instigating fights among friends. Never met a kid with more hate in his soul. Still in my friend group, though. Bay was my best friend as a kid, and still very close, some 9 years later. Somehow, he was nerdier than me, and the smartest guy that I know. Very much hates confrontation, unlike yours truly. TJ is the new girl in our school at the time, short and cute and nerdy, beard bait. So naturally, to a gang of prepubescent boys, she was prey. Ronaldo's a short Asian kid, nerdy but more about football and other sports, hence the name. He's a funny guy with a lot of personality. Closest friends with Rain, the neckbeard. Mikey, named after Mikey from Recess, basically because he resembled him. He was a member of our group for years before he moved away. Curly, tall white dude with a golden smile and a heart of gold, also in our friend group, but doesn't play much role in the story. Uncle G, Bay's dad and hero of the story, reasonable chill dude who genuinely treated me like his third son. And Jeremy, a bully known for picking on kids smaller than him. Bay would usually be his favorite prey, which means he and I fought a lot. Yeah, Bay is the best friend, as we recall. Part 1, Before Time Began. Now, our story begins when I was born, funnily enough. My mother and Bay's mom had met in the hospital while pregnant with their respective children. But we didn't meet again until both of us got taken to kindergarten. From then on, Bay and I became close friends. As I went through school, we gathered a couple of other close friends, including Ronaldo and, sadly, Rain. Rain and I never really saw eye to eye. He'd make slightly racist remarks to me many times, and we would get into fights often. Even our parents didn't like each other. However, one of our friends always managed to stop the fighting before any permanent damage was done. Rain was he was a naturally grumpy kid. He rarely had a smile on his face, unless of course you brought up Harry Potter or Doctor Who, because then he couldn't shut up about either. That all changed when TJ joined our school in the last year. This was the last year before we moved up to secondary school, high school for you Americans, so hormones were only just starting to creep in and Rain was feeling it hard. He clung to TJ like a pasty moth to a flame. I know it's petty, but we always hated how he would ditch us at lunch to sit with her and talk to her. Even at that age, the bro code was established and strong. Anyway, the last thing my school did before shipping us off to be lunch meat for bigger, scarier children was to ship us off to train in the wilderness for a week. This was the trip that every kid was so excited for, yours truly especially. I am of the firm belief that school trips are so important to education. So we were all packed onto a coach, the seating of which was in alphabetical order by last name. As I heard my name called, my partner for the trip was TJ. Bay, Ronaldo, and the other boys teased in the way that, boys our age teased anytime a girl was brought up, and Rain's glare is etched into my very being. Not because it was very menacing, mind you, just, interesting. It was as if a chihuahua was trying to give the evil eye. Regardless of his feelings on the matter, TJ and I were partners, and we were to sit together for the next 3 or so hours. Despite having a mutual friend in Rain, TJ and I hadn't spent that much time together ourselves. It was about 15 minutes into the drive, and the coach was already loud as hell. Teachers were shushing us every 5 seconds. It did not work. I found myself looking at TJ every so often as she stared out the window. No, not staring at her, I was just bored. And we hadn't spoken a word since exchanging hellos as we sat down. Little me thought, I'm here for the next couple hours. Might as well try and say something. And oh boy, did I bring out the big guns for this one. Hold on tight. You ready for this? I guarantee you've never heard of a kid with this much game. Hey, EJ? I stammered out, nervous and awkward. She turns to me with a slight smile and hums quizzically at me. So, you like Minecraft? I asked. 2015. What a time to be alive! Luckily for me, her face beamed and she nodded, and we talked about Minecraft for the entirety of the coach ride. There wasn't a subgenre that we didn't touch. Favorite parody? Best believe we were hopping on Revenge by Captain Sparkles. Favorite mob? You already know we argued about Creeper versus Enderman for minutes on end. We compared achievements and playstyles and all of it. We were getting into it when our teachers called us for lunch. She pulled out her little Pokemon lunchbox, and this time I beamed because I love Pokemon. I still do. Hey, you're a Pokemon fan? I asked her, pointing at her little metal lunchbox. She looked puzzled and asked, isn't everyone a Pokemon fan? She had a point, but other than me and Bay, well, there weren't really any hardcore trainers at my school. I explained that to her. So, what's your favorite? She asked as she took a bite out of her sandwich. I blinked back. Favorite sandwich? I asked. And she laughed and choked a little. No, OP, your favorite Pokemon. Now, I'm a man of taste, but let it be known that I was a basic bitch as a kid, and I liked what I was raised on, and my older brother loved Charizard, so yeah, that was basically almost always my answer as a kid. TJ didn't seem to mind my basic bitchedness because she also gushed about how cool Charizard was before saying that her favorite was Oshawott. It's just so cute and cool, she said. Oh yeah? I smirked cockily and added, well, I've got a shiny one. TJ had no idea what a shiny was, and thank God for that because I was lying through my teeth. I had literally only just learned about shiny Pokemon that week from my brother. This is where the issue came from. I hadn't understood Rain's affection for TJ. At that age, really the only thing we know about girls is that most of them got cooties, but adults were right apparently. Puppy love hits hard. TJ never seemed to light up with Rain the way she did around me, so I was confronted with a question at age 11. A question that haunts friendship groups for generations. What do you do if your boy's feeling a girl, but you know he has no chance in hell of pulling her, and also you like her too as well? Well, I did ponder it in my little noggin, even slowing down my conversation with TJ to do what I do best. Overthink something really simple. Once we arrived at the campsite, I dragged Bay over to ask for his opinion. Unsurprisingly, it amounted to, I don't know, girls are weird. Yeah, I deserve that. Thanks, man. So now came the sleeping arrangements that I guess I'll need to explain because I swear to you this is vital information. My little friendship group, Bay, Ronaldo, Rain, 2 other guys, and myself, had 6 people, if you can count correctly. Each little cottage/room thing housed 4 people. The teachers had given us 15 minutes or so to move our bags and decide who we wanted to room with. We decided to split our little friend group down the middle and just add 1 rando into each cottage. I was with Ronaldo, Rain, and a rando that Ronaldo played football with. The cottage only had 2 beds in each bedroom and a shared bathroom for the 4 of us. Since those 2 were already friends, they took the 2 single beds while Rain and I were in the bunk bed. Yay! No sooner than I put my bag down does this kid start interrogating me about TJ, begging to know what we talked about, if she talked about him, just anything. And honestly, after my little think back on the couch, I had concluded I will support my friend. It doesn't matter if I don't like him. Loyalty is important. Bros before, you know what I mean. So I told him, dear reader, I told him everything I had learned about TJ in those 3 hours that she and I spoke. After I vomited all this information at him, I'd never seen him look so happy with me. He even hugged me.
Thanks, OP. I'm totally gonna ask her to the dance this week.
I raised an eyebrow, confused about what dance he was talking about. It was a school-leaving dance, but that wasn't for another week now. And to the best of my knowledge, this little boy cannot time travel. At this point, Ronaldo swooped in from the room next door to clarify that there was a dance at the end of all the camp activities. It was supposed to be a reward for, not dying, I guess? I don't really know. Nevertheless, Rain was set on securing his maiden. The next 4 days were super fun. We climbed up rock walls and did zip lining and had a huge campfire and sang about our Lord and Savior. I forgot to mention that this was a very Catholic school. In between all that, I had only spoken to TJ a handful of times. She was in a group with Rain, though, so I'm sure he's used the information that I gave him and regurgitated it to her like a fucked up mama bird feeding her young. And then came the day of the dance. Only 1 kid was injured this week, and apparently that was worthy of celebration. Since I grew up working with kids and taking them on trips like this, only 1 injured kid is indeed a miracle. All night, every night, the 3 boys I was rooming with stayed up to discuss how Rain was gonna ask out TJ. What was I doing, you ask? Well, I will tell you, audience. I was playing Pokemon on the DS. I'd managed to sneak my DS in there. There was a hard and fast no device rule, but this was a time before every 6-year-old had an iPad, so yeah, they didn't really check for those things. We all went to the dance, all 6 of the boys reunited to hang out and chill. I can't remember a lot of the dance, but I can recall 3 things. Fact the first. The popular kids were holding some form of weird wedding for the most popular guy and girl in our year. Fact the second. I was wearing a Minecraft creeper shirt paired with copious amounts of Axe body spray. Fact the third. TJ came with her other girlfriends. Rain was not in sight. I had told Bay what happened prior, and as the golden-hearted boy he is, he began to worry.
Do you think he failed?
Bay asked. I shrugged and sipped my little orange juice cup. Our experience with girls at that point amounted to, basically drooling over Megan Fox in the Transformers movies. And to my knowledge, Rain didn't have a talking car to fall back on when his charm failed him. I honestly don't know, bro. He could have, I said, and once again shrugged.
Oh, well, I really hope he didn't, because the last thing that our crew needs is you 2 fighting.
Oh, hi, TJ, Bay scrambled out. Apparently, TJ stealthily snuck up on me, using the blaring 2010s music as the perfect camouflage. I spun around to see her, and she said, "Hey, dude," to Bae, and then asked me to dance with her. I nodded shyly, but I could see a couple of her friends staring and whispering amongst themselves. We danced, or tried to, with our lack of rhythm and experience, to pop music that would be so outdated today. Eventually, Bae, the other guys from my group, and a couple of TJ's friends joined in, and honestly, it became a vibe. I didn't even see him come in, but Rain was with Ronaldo in the corner near the snacks. I might not remember all of this clearly, but that little sting of guilt still wasn't all that great. Fuck 'em. When the dance was over, we all returned to our rooms. Ronaldo had apparently come back early and was just chillin', talking with his friend in the meantime. When I got back, he motioned into the room where Rain and I slept, and I can't lie, I was dreading setting foot in that room. But I sucked it up, and I did, and the first thing that I see is that my DS was taken from its snug place underneath my pillow, and it's now on Rain's bed, beside where he sat. A million possibilities went through my brain. Was he gonna smash it? Turn me into the teachers for bringing contraband? Was he going to release my legendaries? I had no idea. Whatever it was, he had touched what was mine, and it wasn't the first time either. I glared at him, and he returned the glare in kind, though he seemed sort of unsure what to do with his face. I snatched my DS from his spot, got ready for bed, and went to sleep. I was sound asleep, exhausted from all the dancing and the weird kid wedding that I was roped into attending. Apparently I wasn't asleep enough because I heard sniffling and crying from the bottom bunk. Now, dear reader, I had two options here. Comfort this kid that I personally do not care for, or pretend I'm asleep and go to bed. Trick question though, because I'm a light AF sleeper, so in order for me to sleep at all, the weeping has to stop. I leaned over the bar and whispered, "Dude, what's wrong?" his way. At first, no answer, so I asked again, "What's wrong, Rain?"
Shut up, OP!
He hissed back at me. Well, excuse me for being concerned. I was about to cut my losses and go back to sleep when I heard,
"Why don't girls like me?"
This was something I couldn't ignore. I carefully climbed down and sat on his bunk. He continued,
"I've been talking to TJ for ages, and you came in and took her from me. That was pretty crappy of you."
I sighed, and as much as I didn't like this kid, our boys did have a code, and we obviously hadn't covered the girls and crushes section of it, but I am sure I violated like 38 codes of conduct at the least. You're right. TJ asked me, and I just freaked. I don't know.
Why doesn't she like me? I spent time with her. You're a jerk. Who doesn't know her at all?
That's what I got in response to that admittance of blame. Yep, you've been sitting here reading this wondering if this was really a nice guy or just a heartbroken kid. Well, I give you the evidence, dear readers. Feast on it and savor the cringe. Bro, not cool, I said. Now, I was the one getting over emotional. I pushed him and he pushed me back, bashing my back against the metal ladder of the bunk bed. Supposedly, it was loud enough for a teacher, who was staying in the room over, to bang on the wall and demand we go to bed. I glared at him, and fun fact, this is the first time I learned how to kiss my teeth. I did just that, and went back up to my bed and slept the night away. The next day, we took the long journey back down, and I shared a seat with TJ again. We talked more Pokemon, but due to some traffic delays, we were stuck there for almost double the time. We got tired from all the traveling and eventually fell asleep on each other. Rain was in the row ahead of us, and, well, he could honestly suck it. I don't know to this day if he turned around and looked, but I hope that he did. 5 years of friendship, gone out the window. I was an obstacle to the girl he wanted, and he hasn't been told no before, and, well, he wasn't gonna start now.
Ah, the proto-beard years. Before the axe and the fedora, there was only confusion in Minecraft. Rain out here treating basic kindness like a courtship ritual. Bro thought friendship was foreplay. Gubbins.
He doesn't want her. He wants proof he's worth wanting. Every lonely boy builds that shrine. Once. They call it love until someone else stands closer to the altar. Dark Gubbins.
I don't know what the fuck either of y'all talking about, but I said I'm gonna let you have it today, drive the ship, so here we go. Personally, I'm loving it. Pokemon, Minecraft, I'm having a hard time biting my tongue, but I'm gonna continue to do it and just read through the thing as we get into part number 2 right now. For Nice Guy / Neckbeards of the Apocalypse, part 2, Barbecue Brawl. So the weeks after that passed like lightning. There were some tests that I don't really remember taking, but after those lessons were either us goofing off and doing fuck all, or preparing us to go into big boy school. No one focused on that part. Why? 'Cause it was the school dance, baby! We had one the week prior, but who gave a donkey's behind about that? 'Cause we had another dance to go to, and we were about to get done up and fly. Well, about as fly as an 11-year-old with no style can possibly get. I was at lunch when it happened. The younger school kids screamed and hollered, but we were talking about Bakugan with my friend group, minus Rain, who was sitting with TJ and her friends. Somehow it was the one thing that united the 5 of us. It appealed to us also because each of us was one type of Bakugan. There were 6 types in total, and we had 6 friends. One, Mikey, just happened to move away last year. Upon remembering our dearly departed battle brawlers, Ronaldo shot up and smiled. "Guys, I forgot to tell you, my parents said Mikey's coming to the dance. He's coming back to spend a couple more days here before heading back again." And we all looked amongst ourselves excitedly. We were planning playdates and sleepovers and what to do at the dance, and Curly tried to call Rain to tell him the good news, but no response. Ronaldo also tried, but no response. Seems Rain was ignoring us. Bay and I shared a glance before we saw TJ and her group of friends laughing and walk away. TJ herself had a guilty look on her face. Ronaldo, Curly, and I opted to join the now empty table and see what was going on. When we saw Rain's face, it looked like someone had killed his dog right in front of him and was now wearing it as a festive hat. Ronaldo spoke up first. "Dude, are you okay?" Rain, bless him, looked like he was on the verge of tears and shook his head. Curly asked, "Why?" And Rain wasted no time giving me the stink eye before turning to Curly to answer through upset stuttering.
I tried to ask TJ to dance, and she said no."
I do want to remind you, readers, that I'm 11 years old at the time of writing this, as are all my friends, so we had no real experience with rejection by girls or how to deal with that when it happens to one of your friends. Ronaldo steps up and decides to sit with him and talk about Mikey coming back to town, which did cheer Rain up, even for a little bit. That weekend, all 5 of us went to Mikey's uncle's place and made a welcome home banner for Mikey and his twin sister. Mikey's sister, who we'll just call Mikey's sister for the sake of simplicity, had some of her friends at this party too, who brought along TJ because she thought they'd all get on together. As soon as the twins stepped through the door, an eruption of screams and clambering for hugs ensued. Soon the boys and the girls separated to catch up with their respective groups. The twins were living by the sea now, so Mikey was talking about all the life by the beach and how it's so much cleaner than the city. Yeah, I don't know about all the rest, but I wasn't excited for this conversation. We wanted to check if he still carried it. As I said before, my crew are ride-or-die Bakugan fans. So much so that we always carried at least one on us that corresponded to the type we were assigned. I had light, Bay had wind, Ronaldo had fire, Rain had water, part of the reason I gave him that name, Curly had dark, and Mikey had earth. We exchanged a look and then all pulled out our respective Bakugan from our pockets, a symbol of our friendship. Mikey sighed. We all looked heartbroken. Oh. Ronaldo was about to speak up about how it was cool if he didn't still do that, but before he could start, Mikey produced his brown plastic ball and we all cheered! The girls' side of the room looked at us like we were dorks, and honestly, yeah, sorta right. Mikey's uncle was throwing a barbecue with help from some of the other parents who had attended. By now, the gendered groups had fully integrated and were playing football together in the background, or soccer if you're incorrectly inclined. And I am. It was 5 aside, leaving a member of each crew on the side as a substitute. I didn't care for football, and TJ had asthma, so we were the ones sitting watching our friends kick a ball at each other. So we got to talking. Hey TJ, what do you think of Mikey's sister? I asked with a smile, offering her a Coke from the cooler. She happily accepted it and gave that hand expression, where you hold your hand out and shake it side to side. I don't know, kinda just feel like I'm the outsider here. She took a sip of her Coke and I agreed with her. Out of all the boys, I was the least close with Mikey, but it was still nice to see him. While watching our friends play, or rather try to play, while Ronaldo was running circles around everyone, I could see TJ fidgeting out of the corner of my eye. With my distinct lack of a filter, I'm about as subtle as a claymore, so I raised an eyebrow and asked, "What's wrong with you?" She rolls her eyes and shows me a scrap of paper she's been scribbling on. On it reads, "Do you want to go to the dance with me?" with one of those little tick boxes, yes and no. Now, I was extremely confused and blindsided by all this. Like I said in the previous story, I hadn't spoken to TJ all that much, other than the bus ride to and from the trip. And even after the trip, we didn't speak that much. Secondly, why was this on a piece of paper? Was she just too nervous to say it out loud, or was she worried about someone hearing, like Rain? Either way, I thought TJ was cute, so I ticked yes and handed the pen and paper back to her. "You're still weird," I said bluntly, to which she scoffed and gave me a light punch in the arm. After what felt like an eternity later, barbecue was served and we all ate and talked. Since we were 11-year-olds with no manners, I do not doubt that all the boys made disgusting attempts to multitask on that front. I asked Rain if he could pass me another hot dog. All this earned me was a glare, so I asked an adult, and they obliged me. Bay leaned over to me and said, "Is Rain, okay?" I shrugged and said, "You're the one who's been playing football with him. You tell me." I hadn't spoken to Rain today outside of the group conversation. My dumbass kid brain couldn't even fathom the idea that he might be upset about TJ because I neglected to consider that TJ might tell her friends. It was getting colder outside, so the food, adults, and girls all moved inside. The boys wanted to stay in the garden to do boy things. We were engaged in a rather heated match of 3-a-side dodgeball, which, with one ball, was really just a glorified version of catch. It was Mikey, Bay, and I against Rain, Ronaldo, and Curly. Anytime Rain's cells encountered that ball, he made it his life's mission to hit me with it, but I dodged it every single time. Mikey got Curly out and the ball recoiled off him back onto our side. I grabbed it and pelted it back to their side, aiming for Ronaldo. Rain, in all his infinite wisdom, decided to dive for the ball, and it hit him square in the face. He fell with a thud, and all 5 of us ran to check on him. You know that fear when you're about to get in trouble with some adults? That sinking feeling in your stomach? Yeah, that feeling was eating me alive right now. Rain's parents weren't here, but they only live like 5 minutes away, and surely they could be here if they were so inclined. Rain looks up with a blank expression, and Ronaldo helps him up. I start apologizing, explaining who I was actually aiming for, but then shove! And this time, I go down with a thud. I still remember how it felt with my head ricocheting off the ground. My vision was fuzzy, I could feel tears welling up in my eyes from the pain. Now, one thing that hasn't come into play yet is my description where it says not afraid to fight. When my family learned this cute little fact about me, my brother started to teach me boxing since I was about 8 or 9. But that not being afraid of a fight thing stems from my undiagnosed ADHD, which caused a lot of anger problems. I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of, and I'm glad I've moved past that stage of my life for the most part. And this story will explore some of the darker moments that took me down. I'm older now and I know better, but what's about to happen to Rain? Well, I don't regret that in the slightest. Bay helps me up and says, "Hey, OP, are you okay? I could get my dad to call your mom if you want." Bless his soul. I shake my head and look around. The other 3 boys are around Rain, asking a lot of questions. "Why the heck did you do that?" I heard Mikey say first. "Just leave OP out of it. It's between you and TJ, Curly stepped in on top of that. At this point, Rain is full-on crying. No idea what he said, but all I remember is,
"Wah, he's going to the dance with TJ. Wah."
Had I known the phrase at the time, I surely would have told him to cry me a fucking river. Instead, I chose a more family-friendly approach. Rain, stop being such a waste, man. My prepubescent voice surely didn't sound all that threatening. I don't think the boys knew that I was up because they all turned around in surprise.
"You're a bad friend. You chose her over me."
Rain slurred back with tears streaming down his face. If this were to happen now, in the same situation, I don't know if I still would be a bad friend. Like, it's not that he's full nice guy yet, so yeah, he's not bothering TJ. She just doesn't really like him in that way. I'm sure you guys can give me an earful in the comments if you think otherwise. His comment did hurt me. Not only because I thought I was a decent friend to him, despite the jabs he tended to make, but also the irony of that damn sentence. I'm not a bad friend. You always sit with TJ, so it's not really about me choosing her over you, when you chose her over all of us. I motioned to the rest of the boys, who have at this point parted like the Red Sea, allowing Rain and I to size each other up.
"I did it because she liked me,"
he whined back at this point, stomping his foot. And while we're young in this story, we are not young enough to be stomping our fucking feet. She doesn't like you. No girl is ever gonna like you! Low blow, I know, but I was angry and my head hurt, and in all honesty, one thought I remember vividly is just wanting to go home. Suddenly though, Rain began to charge at me in what I can only assume was a tackle attempt, but he ended up with his hands too high and shoved me against the fence. Immediately, the boys jumped in to separate us. I lifted my left hand to block the punch coming toward my face, and my right to deliver my own punch back. I'd love to say that Rain was knocked out by this, and then TJ and I rode a My Little Pony into the sunset, never to be seen again, but yeah, I'm 11, and punching another 11-year-old. I'm not that strong. I did manage to give him a bloody nose, however.
"OP, what have you done?"
I hear an adult voice. It's Mikey's uncle as he jogs over from the kitchen door to check on us with Mikey by his side. Apparently, during all the commotion, Mikey ran off to get a responsible adult, which, yeah, that's fair. Two of the girls' mums jog over and help Rain up, who's crying even more than he was before. Ronaldo's dad and Curly's mom asked them all what happened. I couldn't tell you what they were saying. I was just looking at Mikey's uncle yelling at me, saying I was wrong and shouldn't be punching people, that I'm old enough to know better. It gets to be too much for me, and I scream that I'm sorry, and shove past him and the girls that are watching and run upstairs to Mikey's uncle's bathroom. I don't know how long I sat on the bathroom floor just crying and muttering, "She started it," to myself, but it certainly was a core memory. A core traumatic memory, but it wasn't the first, and it would not be the last. I hear a knock on the door, and I'm too scared to answer.
"Hey, OP, it's Uncle G. Are you okay?"
he says, and I stay silent, so he continues.
"Look, Bay told me what happened, alright? Rain pushed you first, and that's not okay. Please, let me come in and talk to you."
I begrudgingly wipe my tears and unlock the bathroom door. He took one look at my face and sighed.
"I called you, Mom. Come on, let's get you home."
Bay was beside him, and he and I did our little secret handshake, which cheered me up. I come downstairs and don't say a word to anyone. Uncle G gets challenged. I remember a few parents saying, "He can't just leave. He assaulted a little boy." And Uncle G, smooth as ice, replied,
"Yeah? Well, that boy pushed him first, so we are leaving."
I don't remember the drive home. I do remember my parents having a good yell fest at me, and while I didn't feel it at the time, I know that I did deserve it. The next day, Mama marched me up to Rain's house, and I had to stand there and say, "I'm sorry." When I looked up, Rain had a nice big bruise on his nose/eye area. Good, I thought.
Imagine getting folded at a barbecue in front of hot dogs and God. Rain tried to swing and got served a combo meal with extra humility. This is what happens when your self-worth is marinated in rejection. Gubbins.
Violence was inevitable. One boy saw a crush, another saw a mirror. When fragile egos meet friction, they call it betrayal, because honesty feels like fire, dark gubbins.
Yeah, honesty can hurt, but it's the good sort of hurt, you know? The sort of hurt that prevents you from getting folded at a barbecue in front of hot dogs and God. I think Gubb is taking the lead on this one today. But we'll get into part number 3 and see how it goes. The 4 Nice Guys and Neckbeards of the Apocalypse, part number 3, Dancing in the Rain. The Battle Brawlers, which is what we called our cringy friend group, had originally planned to all go to the dance as a group. But since the events of part 2, I would no longer be invited. I was annoyed at everyone and everything, even TJ. In my blind rage, I remember cursing poor TJ for asking me on a date and ruining my friendship life, even going so far as to say that I don't even like girls. Yeah, that part didn't last very long. How long, you ask? Why, the bell rang maybe an hour or 2 after my outburst, and my mom hollered at me to answer, so like the man I thought I was, I sucked it up and opened the door to see a white guy that I did not recognize. At my house? At what's almost my bedtime? This can't be good. And who might you be? The man asked with a smile, holding his hand out for a handshake. I wasn't big on touch, or people at that age, so I raised an eyebrow and looked at his hand. Who's asking? My dad, OP. I heard a familiar giggle from behind the man and leaned over to see TJ, covering the giggle, no doubt amused by my failed attempt to intimidate her father. After my, oh, in recognition, TJ's dad smiled. Hey, I appreciate it though, you're being so vigilant, and that's a good trait to have. I nodded and let them in, having no idea what vigilant meant. My mother greeted us shortly, welcoming TJ's dad and meeting TJ for herself the first time. My mom went in to get some drinks while they sat in the next room. I ran in after my mom, but before I could get a word in, she said, I like her. That's great. Why is she here? I asked while having that glare on my face. That is a very weird way to say thank you, mijo. She's your date to the dance, my mother said matter-of-factly while pouring glasses of orange juice. I won't bore you with the back and forth of my poor mother convincing me that she was doing what's best for me. She knew I was excited for the dance, so unbeknownst to me, she connected with TJ's parents online and arranged for TJ's dad to drive me and his daughter to the dance and ensure that I went and had a good time. As stubborn as I was, and still am, I did eventually fold. Got upstairs to change while TJ changed in the bathroom. When I got downstairs, I saw her in her yellow dress and... yeah, remember my promise that I don't like girls? Well, screw that. It was like that scene on Inside Out where they press the puberty button, because a lot of feelings I could not quantify entered me at an alarming rate. Our parents awed and cooed at us while taking pictures that are now destined to rot inside of my mother's iCloud. The car ride over was nice. TJ's dad spoke about all the things he'd heard about me. And even though TJ had described me as the smart kid who gets mad a lot, her dad seems to respect that. I wish my teachers felt the same. We got to the dance, and it was a school dance. Not that lavish to the eyes of adults with histories of raves and clubs and house parties. But to us kids, pretty amazing. A bright red carpet led into the hall, DJ decks and streamers, flashing lights to give the Porygon episode of Pokemon a good run for its money. Yeah! This place had it all. TJ dragged my wrist to go up and meet with her friends, and they proceeded to squeal at a frequency that only dogs and God himself could hear. No thank you, I'm gonna go see about some food. Heading over to the snack bar was a surreal experience. All the kids who tried to pick on me and my friends must have had a lobotomy on the drive over because they were all so calm. One even caught me off guard. My bully Jeremy placed his hand on my shoulder, which instinctively caused me to spin around. Hey, LP, cool party, right? I blinked at him. This kid tormented me and my friends since he'd laid eyes on us, and now he's trying to make conversation? I shrugged and turned around to the snacks. In hindsight, I could see he was probably trying to mend fences, and I brushed him off. Wherever he is now, I sincerely do hope that he's thriving. After I'd gathered my snacks on a plate like a hoarder, I felt another tap on my shoulder, and I felt a small part of my blood boil and then cool as I spun around again. It was my friends, all 5 battle brawlers who came to talk to me. I was confused and said as much. I thought you guys weren't supposed to talk to me. Everyone but Bay looked uneasy, so he spoke first. No, P, it's not that. It's just, some of our parents don't like it that you hit Rain. That's all. Yeah, but he hit me first. I went to correct him. Dude, come on, none of that. This might be our last hangout for a long, long time, so let's not fight, okay? Bay pleaded with me, and I sighed. This guy was and is my best friend in the world. How could I say no? Seriously, how? I'm asking, because if I had said no, well then I would have avoided some really awkward conversations. We were all partying, the 6 of us dancing our butts off and talking to teachers and the other pupils outside of our tightly knit 6. Mikey from the last part was the star of the show, having moved and come back, so people were positively swarming him and his sister. Ever the bottomless black hole of food, I decided to go get a refill on my snacks, and TJ joined me. We sat at the table, and shortly after that, Rain came to join us. I told TJ that I'd made up with my group, so she greeted him amicably, while I was hesitant.
Hey, OP, I just wanted to say I'm sorry, dude.
Rain's words caught me off guard. Over the last 6 years of knowing him, this kid has broken my toys, stolen other kids' food, been an overall douche, and has never once uttered a sorry. I wonder if he even knows what that word means. So I tested him. Sorry for what? I asked hesitantly.
Just that you started this, we're friends and we shouldn't be fighting over something that won't matter in a couple of months,
he explained in the most condescending voice. What? I glared at him, but I noticed that he wasn't focused on me, but on TJ.
TJ, when we get to our next school, I can look after you properly and keep you safe, he smiled.
Ugh. And to this day, I have no idea if he meant that seriously. What? TJ echoed my earlier sentiment. This was confusing.
OP's going to a different school, which is pretty far away, so...
Rain went on and on. I can't really remember everything he said, because at this point I was so angry, but the long and short of it was this. He and TJ were going to the same school next year, so this maniac assumed that she'd dump me and be with him because of, I don't know, convenience, I guess? Rain, we're friends, but I don't like you like that, okay? TJ stated politely, and she seemed to feel genuinely bad that she couldn't return this weirdo's feelings. He must have taken what she said as soon as OP's out of the picture, I'm gonna make out with you, because he wouldn't stop smiling as he left. The best part of the dance was the teachers and parents giving us praise as we walked down the red carpet one by one. Things like, biggest jokester, most likely to be prime minister, stuff like that. Uncle G was reading these out because he was the DJ, and when it got to my turn, he lumped his son and I together. We got the Bestest Friends Award, which was nice, but I would later joke with Uncle G that I'd like an award that didn't just make me an accessory to his boy. Once all the names were read, all the big group dances began, namely Gangnam Style. We danced our little hearts out on stage alongside Uncle G, and trust me, if I could, I'd show you footage of little me busting a move, but I don't think that you could survive that sort of cringe. I certainly couldn't. It was about the time the YMCA song came on that I was out of it. TJ and Bay as well. We sat down at the table just discussing what everyone got for their specific award, to which TJ mocked us for being such good friends. And then, to rain on our parade, see what I did there? Rain sat down at our table, talking almost exclusively to TJ about their next school year and how they'd be in all the same classes because they went to this school together and everything. Yeah, nothing inherently creepy or cringy seemed to be happening in the conversation, so I just tuned it out and spoke to Bay about the same thing. Bay's the smartest kid I know, so of course he got into big brain school, meaning not only will we not see much of each other in school, but no doubt he'll also be too swamped studying to see me casually anymore as well. Dear reader, I would have been focusing on my farewell to my best friend if not for a little comment that escaped this snake's lips. I mean, yeah, I guess we could take the bus. You get off like 10 stops after me, though, TJ said.
Yeah, but if you're tired from school, you can fall asleep on my shoulder since OP won't be there.
Rain excitedly added. This caused TJ to shoot me a worried/confused look. Luckily, a song came on, and suddenly I felt like dancing. So TJ and I made our daring escape to the dance floor. I remember the rest of the dance being pretty nice after that, but Rain's pursuit of TJ knew no end, truly. During the summer of that year, all of us got our first phones, which meant TJ and I could keep in touch, but more concerningly, Rain could also contact TJ, so this isn't the end of his part to play in the saga. It's merely a stepping off point as I ventured into a new school with new friends and new enemies, and of course new nice guys and neckbeards. But fear not, Rain will return, and true to his name, will bring a storm along with him. I hope that you all have a beautiful day. I'm off to do my big boy job and earn them big boy bucks. But fear not, I will return shortly in the 4 Nice Guys / Neckbeards of the Apocalypse Part 4 Summer School. Hope you guys enjoyed the read. It's a long one, sorry. This story's a slow burn. When I tell these stories to others, there's always one big question people have, so let me answer it now, and it'll be the answer for all the other parts. OP, how in God's name do you remember all of this? I'll admit I don't have the best memory, but Bay, who was present for a lot of this, has near eidetic memory. I think that's what it's called. In addition to that, because I was in student counseling from an early age, the teachers had me keep a journal. Writing things down helps me remember things well, and still does to this day. So if there are any holes in there, I'll usually hit up Bay or someone else and catch up and see what they can add. For example, Bay was the one who reminded me that TJ and I fell asleep on the bus. The teachers found it funny, and he was sitting near the front of the bus. Stay blessed, take care of yourselves. Until next time, OP. Yeah, I appreciate you, OP. Hell of a long story, but I didn't make it too much longer than it needed to be. Gubbins tend to help me keep it short and sweet, so how do you feel, boys?
Rain's apology had more red flags than a Soviet parade. He tried to manifest romance like it was a group project she forgot she was in. Meanwhile, OP just vibing in Gangnam Style glory. Gubbins.
Oppa Gangnam Style! How about you, Darkbot?
He mistakes proximity for destiny, rejection for injustice, and himself for the hero. The tragedy isn't that she said no, it's that he'll keep hearing not yet. Dark Gubbins.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of people cut from that same type of cloth out there, but that's why these stories give such catharsis, you know? This one didn't have an explosive ending. I didn't even really get to dunk on anybody in the thing, but it is what it is. We tried a different format today. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it at all, or if we should go back to rambling as much as possible. Never stop rambling, ReddX, and I said, they'll never catch the rambler. Don't you worry about that. You can help me with my rambling ventures on Patreon or YouTube memberships if you'd like. Check out the Fourth Wall for some merch. Podcasts, we're on iTunes, Spotify, basically anywhere podcast services are. ReddX, Reddit Reads. Go ahead and check us out. Thanks so much for being here, hanging out. I want to remind you, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.